I just taped a piece of paper here because my hand was touching the wet tape here and I was messing this up, and I'd like to keep that for another picture because I want the water to not be a dark, but I want it to be a blue, but certainly not a bright blue. So what I'll do here is take this value, more of the blue, yes, like that, and I just want to be careful not to go over the light orange at the top. If I go over this dark at the bottom, that's going to be fine. You won't even notice that. And into that, just to get some variety, I'm going to add a bit of a darker value than that. I probably don't want that stroked like that, so I'm taking just pure water. I just need to soften that. Yeah. The one thing that is a real conflict, this is now my brightest, virtually the brightest thing in the dark section. So this is going to attract the eye more than where I really want you to go, to the house. So what I'm going to do is take kind of a fairly light value, some of the red, some of the stuff that's on there, and I'm just going to go over, that's not strong enough, add a bit of the green. So I'm going to kind of come over this, but I'm not just going to cover the whole thing with one color. I'm going to use, so I've really used almost 2 different washes there, and another bit of different color, a bit more of the red. And I'm doing that just to tone that down. So now it's not nearly as bright, and I should probably do the same thing. So I'm really just taking whatever mixtures are on my palette. I don't want these to be so bright, because again, they're going to take away from where I want your eye to go, which is up to the building. I'm just going to stop for 1 second and let this dry. Okay, so the last thing I want to do, as I mentioned, I could leave this, but I also could just add a little bit more. So I want to come up with a really dark mixture. This is great because I'm almost using all my paint. So a real dark mixture, and then just come in and add a few finishing touches. So I don't even know if these are all going to show. Because I'm trying to do detail, so I'm going to end up resting part of my hand on the paper. I'm putting this there just to protect it. And I want to emphasize right around this window, because that's, you know, the light through the window. And I just want to get that more of a straight up. Now when that dries, it may not be all that visible. A little bit there. Just dry it and take a last look. So I've dried it off and taken a look, and yep, I'm fine with it. It's done what I wanted. There's just one issue I have are these lighter spots here. Because they're so much lighter than the surrounding, they attract the eye and take away from my center of interest. So I'm going to get my giant round brush. Just get a random mixture here and tone those down. And while I tone them down, I'm going to just re-emphasize my theory of the beach debris. So it's okay, those have definitely disappeared. But now when I look at it, I think it's a little bit too uniformly dark down here. So I'm going to do another little trick here. I'm taking just got a 1/2 inch flat that's with just water in it. And I'm going to actually try and lift out a few shapes. And I'm sort of trying to make them directional to lead us back to the center of interest. And when you use this technique, you need a Kleenex paper towel handy so that every time when I lift that up, I then clean off the brush. Yeah, I think that's adding a bit of life that I may have just taken away by being a little bit overly zealous. In looking at it, like, I think it's very attractive. I like the contrast between the luminous sky and this, but I see what I've done. I have the darks here are fine, but I have towards the edge, I just have too many real darks down here, which it just gives it an unfocused nature. So I need to just deal with that with some wholesale lifting of paint down around the edge. And my hope is, and I think it will work, is as I lighten this, it's going to make the darks in the center even more effective. And then this one thing is taking forever to do. Then I'm just going to play with this a little bit here. Just quickly switch to my giant round. Take whatever's on offer to use up all the rest of my paint. Oops. And this really reinforce this area and just try and bring a little more sense to this part that I've lifted out. Yeah, so I'm much happier with that. What I've tried to do is to lighten the bottom of this, which will encourage your eye to go to the darker value. Anyway, I'm finished with this. I hope you have enjoyed it. It's a very neat little painting because of this contrast with the real darks and that luminous sky. Very effective. And we hope to see you next time.